Welcome to Tag Friday. Tag Friday, yeah. Hey Book Dragons, I'm so glad you're here with me today. I'm doing a book tag. This is the Ray Bradbury Booktag, created by Gareth over at Books, Songs, and Other Magic. And I love Gareth's channel, and he creates some great tags. And Ray Bradbury is his favorite author. And I've read a few of Ray Bradbury's books, not all of them. And some have been good, and some have been not so good for me. But in any case, I am wanting to read more Ray Bradbury, and I thought this was a cool tag. I was tagged in this by Joe over at BookBuds and Pat over at Book Chat with Pat. So I would love for you to go check out all of their channels. And we're going to get right to the tag. Now, if you have snacks or drinks that you want to consume while watching this video, I have my handy little cup of tea here that I'll be drinking throughout the video. And if you want to pause and go get your snacks or drinks, feel free. I will wait here and take a drink of my own. And if you're back, I'm glad you're back. So let's go ahead and get right to this. The first prompt on this tag is Crime and Detective Beginnings. Choose a book based around a crime. And the book I chose for that is Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. This is the first of the Hannibal Lecter books, and it follows a detective team as they try to hunt down a serial killer who has labeled himself the Red Dragon. And they are completely baffled, and at some point they decide to enlist the help of a doctor by the name of Hannibal Lecter, who is currently in prison for eating people. Yes, Hannibal the Cannibal. Anyway, so yeah, Red Dragon is a fantastic book, a fantastic start to a 4-book series, and I highly recommend it. It's great. But just, be aware. Body horror. I mean, yeah. All right, so prompt number 2, Martian Chronicles. Choose a book set on another world. And for that, I have chosen The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Stormlight Archive series. Currently a 5-book series. It is a planned 10-book series. And I enjoyed The Way of Kings, but it wasn't my favorite of the series. It is set on an alien planet called Roshar, and I really love the world of Roshar. You really have to be a survivor to survive in Roshar, and I think it's a really cool planet. And yeah, I do recommend the Stormlight Archive series. Maybe not for everybody, but it's worth giving it a shot. Number 3 is Dandelion Wine. Now, this is a book that I've been wanting to read at some point. Dandelion Wine, a book that reminds you of your childhood. And for this, I chose Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. And not because I grew up in the same time period as the boy in Boy's Life. I didn't. That boy grew up in the 60s, and I grew up in the 70s. I was born in 75. So not the same time period, but it's a very similar childhood. Back then, you didn't have all the gadgets. You didn't have all the worries about leaving your child to play by themselves and develop their imagination and walk around all over the place just by themselves and doing their own thing. And, he had a bike, which I technically had a bike, but I never really learned to ride the bike. I wasn't ever very good at it. And so, I just walked, and I lived in a small town, and this boy kind of lives in a small town too. And it's just a wonderful tale. One of my favorite books that I've read. It was my book of the year I read it, and it was just so much fun. so nostalgic for me in so many ways. And there's a hint of magical realism in it as well. So that really appealed to me too. So I highly recommend it. You must read A Boy's Life, especially if you grew up in the 60s or even the 70s, kind of that era there. That's gonna feel right at home for you. All right, we're moving on to prompt number 4, and that is Something Wicked This Way Comes, which I have read, and it was okay for me. It was a good story. Something with a witch in it. And for this, I chose Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden. This is the final book in the Winter Night trilogy, and it follows a young girl in early Russia who has witchy tendencies. Her name is Vasya, and she's in touch with nature and the spirits of nature, contrary to the religious beliefs of her mother and somewhat her father as well. And there's a lot of religious clashing and everything like that in the story, but she really embraces her inner witch by the final book, and I was just loving every minute of it. So I highly recommend the Winter Night trilogy. Winter of the Witch is the book that I chose for this prompt. All right, so prompt number 5 is The Illustrated Man, which I'm sad to say I DNF'd. It was not for me. It was a cool concept, but a lot of the short stories in it did not work and didn't age well, I didn't feel, so I DNF'd it. Book about or featuring your favorite illustrator. One of my favorite illustrations is The Nomad's Crucible by Charles McGarry. Hey, wait, that's me! Yes, I decided to do a shameless plug for my own book, and this is about an assassin who goes on a journey of self-discovery as a result of a job that he is assigned to do. I would love for you to check it out. That's all I'll say. Thank you for indulging me in this shameless plug. Let's move on. But, I mean, that illustration, though. Kat Fiscaletti is my artist, and she's really good. Okay, so, prompt number 6. From the Dust Returned, book about a memorable family. And for this, I did Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin, because the Targaryen family is an iconic family, and this book is all about the Targaryen dynasty, and I just ate it up. I was loving every minute of all the brutality in that book, and there was a lot of brutality, and there was a lot of just uncomfortable stuff at times, but I was fully engaged. I love it. All right. Number 7, Elton John's Rocket Man, a song inspired by a book or a story. I love Rocket Man, by the way. It's one of my favorite Elton John songs. I think it's probably one of everyone's favorite Elton John songs, but So, a song inspired by a book or story. I went with Edema Rue by Nightwish. Okay? I really love Nightwish. They're one of my favorite bands. And they are very inspired by fantasy books, just in general. But specifically, Edema Rue is inspired by the Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss. The Edema Rue are a group of troubadours that travel together, kind of a nomadic group that travels and performs and everything like that. And the lead character, Kavoth, came from that troupe. So, and the Edema Rue song is all about the Edema Rue from that series. So, highly recommend that series, and I highly recommend Nightwish. All right, so we're moving on. Prompt number 8. We'll always have Paris. Choose a book set in Europe. And for this, I chose Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. And this is the first book in the Robert Langdon series. everybody knows that the first movie adaptation was the Da Vinci Code, but that was not technically the first book in the series. Angels and Demons is, and it follows Robert Langdon and a couple of other people as they're trying to locate and defuse an antimatter bomb in the Vatican City before it goes off. So it takes place in Italy. And fun fact, for the adaptation of this book, for the movie adaptation, there was a lot of outcry from the Vatican when they made the movie, and so they changed the main character, one of the main characters, the priest, they changed him from Italian to Scottish. So in the movie, he's played by Ewan McGregor, a Scotsman. They didn't want the Italian people to be looked at unfavorably, so they prevented the director from using an Italian priest. So anyway, okay, there we go. We're moving on to prompt number 9, and that is skeleton. Choose a story or book with a plot containing body horror or a feeling of being trapped. Now, I mentioned body horror briefly with Red Dragon, and that does have some, but I went with The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker for this one. This is the book that led to the Hellraiser movies, also produced by Clive Barker. And it takes place in our world, but someone finds a mysterious puzzle box, and when they open it, it summons the Cenobites, who are a torturous alien race that sees pleasure and pain as the same thing. And so they find pleasure both by torturing people and by being tortured, and it's weird and it's wild, but it is, there's some body horror in this one. And the final prompt on here is Marionettes Incorporated. Choose a book or story with robots or a doppelganger in it. And before I do that, I'm going to have some tea. Okay, I chose to go with the robot option. And for this, I went with Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. And this, of course, inspired the movie Blade Runner. And it follows a detective as he's trying to get down to the root of what is going on in the city with all the androids, and are the androids out killing people? What's going on with it? Ultimately, it leads to questions about the nature of humanity and what makes someone human versus android. It's a great story. It's a really great story, and I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite science fiction books, and the movie's great too, but it is quite a bit different, though it has similarities. So, highly recommend Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I hope you'll check it out, and I think that is all I've got for today on this tag. That is the final prompt. So let me know in the comments below what you think, what some of your answers might be to these prompts. And until next time, make sure you read more books. And I will be tagging people in the description below that I think would enjoy doing this tag, okay? Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.